ringleader. So listen up.
Good morning, Mr. Novak, episode 647, The Death of the Brick Home. Mark Novak, how are you today?
Excellent, legend. You?
Yeah, good, thank you. Been looking forward to this one. It's been interesting with a couple of little homes on the market lately, a couple sold properties, and a change in demand for the double brick home. Why do you think that is?
It's happened. Now, I might just strip it back a little bit while we're talking about double brick homes, because there's a brick veneer home is brick on the outside, proper brick, and then it goes timber, and then it goes Gyprock on the inside. Gyprock's, that stuff you paint, the white stuff, yeah? So then you've got a clad home. So that's been really, really popular the last probably 10 years. People are doing like that Hamptons looking place. It's often could be like that ribbed look, or even it can be a clad from the outside home can look like a rendered home, but it's actually not a brick. It's just like a blue board and they render over it. That's a clad. And then there's the old fashioned, which the Greeks loved, the Serbians loved, the Italians loved, the Croatians loved, everyone loved. It was the double brick. And the double brick there was just no timber. There was zero burn rate. You were brick on the outside. You're a gap of air and brick on the inside. So there was absolutely no timber, roof on top. Then there was concrete floors. So the ground floor was concrete, or there was timber, one or the other. And then on top of the timber went your carpet, your stuff like that. And then there was the first floor, which was double brick, which was concrete, or that could also be timber as well. They were the types of constructions that our parents used to aspire to, the Euros, and used to say, nah, you got to have a double brick home. But what's happened?
Well, that's it. It's the landscape's changed a little bit. You grew up in a double brick home, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Novak. So there's probably a little bit of almost a sentimental attachment to that style of home when you see similar homes. Morning, Anmol. Morning, Luke. Yeah, you do associate things like that, like security with double brick for some reason. I don't know. What are the connotations that you would associate to a double brick generic home? Anmol says construction costs has changed. Yeah, it sure has. What would you say connotation-wise for double brick, Mark?
Look, I think perception-wise, like Luke was saying, you got that security. And guys, it's a live show. Feel free to ask any questions, make any comments. But definitely brick. I think insulation was a big thing. And we're talking 60s, 70s, 80s when you saw a lot of full brick. Aircon was a very expensive thing to run. It was a very expensive thing to install. And there weren't really methods of insulation that were available in the marketplace like there are today. So I think the way our backup plan to not doing full brick is much better today than it ever was, with aircon, with insulation. As a matter of fact, you can actually get the same properties, the same insulation properties as a full brick home almost, by insulating it well and air conditioning it.
Interesting. So it all comes down to, it's not necessarily from people's perception of security and things like that. The bottom line is typically it's to do with insulation, it's to do with heating, for the most part, or what's the sway on aesthetic over usage, essentially, would you say, or cosmetic?
Look, aesthetically, I think you can rip off a full brick looking home pretty easily from the outside now, because you can blue board it and you can render it and off it goes. Do you remember they used to do the fake bricks as well? But that's another story. But in terms of I think insulation-wise, they're pretty much neck to neck now, which they weren't before. As a matter of fact, a lot of families, even if they do have a full brick home these days, they're whacking on the air conditioning. It seems like a little bit more of a done thing. I personally don't like sleeping with it on, but you know, people are running it pretty hard. And then what happened? James, solar came along.
Yeah, so that was the next.
Yeah, it was like, who cares about leaving the air conditioning on, because, you know, the solar's pumping this out for free now. So again, you know, the need for that. There are still certain areas of Sydney where people still will do it. I know where Anmol is, a lot of people are still very, very house proud people, and they will build in a double brick. So a lot of different areas. Amal's got some stuff to say as well. Let's have a look. Construction costs has changed. No termite activity in double brick. Absolutely. New builds looking for cost savings. It's true. It's true. Brick avoid big storm damage like the one on the northern beaches. Yeah, I think look, when that storm damage happened, it ripped off roofs. I don't think double brick would help you there, and I think that trees fell through houses, and a double brick, I'm not sure, but certainly I think when you're having a storm, or if it's bad weather and you're in a double brick home, massive difference. Massive difference.
You would have probably double the brick. You would have felt you would have felt more secure, I think. But as you say, probably didn't pay dividends. It was roofs, and yeah, it was a tough couple of weeks actually for DY and the locals down here. What would you say in terms of? I know people are going crazy at the moment over building homes. Prices of materials have gone through the roof. What are people doing as a substitute instead of double brick these days that they would have previously not done? And why? Like, so the Hampton style homes, we've got weatherboard is a hell of a lot more prevalent. Are they usually brick veneer homes, or is it typically not that style?
Yeah, all the new stuff, the Hampton stuff on the beaches is not brick at all. I don't think there's a massive cost saving between brick veneer and a weatherboard home at the moment, because after the time you insulate it and stuff like that, the cost sort of comes up. What I do find interesting is the perception in people's brains when you're selling a property. Does it actually matter to have a full brick home or to have a brick veneer home, a sexy looking brick veneer home? Or a sexy looking double brick home? Is there a big difference in price? What do you reckon?
I reckon it's probably perception based. So you have people that will ask questions like that at the very beginning before they show any interest, and sometimes they'll be old school traditional and they'll ask immediately, first question, is it double brick? What is it? And then they'll move on from there, and sometimes they'll just shun the property away if it isn't. That's probably a small percentage, and I would say it's probably the older generation of men that'll come through that like to do a little tap on the walls and listen out for all of the little spots. I bet you do that very well.
I can't wait when my girls are buying a property. I can't wait to go through that property and go,
what are you doing, Dad? It's got to be done.
It's not everyone.
Gotta listen. But yeah, look, it is interesting because it's a changing sort of landscape, and as building costs have gone up, and people have also been looking for more non-traditional styles of home, and now more than often it's about the aesthetic appeal or look or cosmetic look of your home. Not the bones being rock solid, going to be there for 100 years. People thinking in a different way, and I think a home's life cycle per family is probably shorter than it ever was in the past. So, I don't think there's as much attachment to the homes. There is a big amount, but not the same degree as traditionally.
Yeah, I think you brought up a really good one there. You're not building forever anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas when our parents bought the furniture, they were buying the furniture that was going to last forever. When they were going to build the house, they were going to build the house that was going to last them for 40 years. But I think you're right. That whole live-in time for people, or even before that, people were thinking they were going to pass that property on to the next generation. A bit like building a castle. You know what I mean? Like it goes from generation. That's sort of gone. So I think that could have something to do with it as well. Good point.
What have we got? Instant economy, structural stability, cracking minimum. There are a lot of things that people have to consider. Would you say, I suppose, to summarize the other side of it, people that are building away from brick, do they still have the same assurances over quality? Nowadays, possibly, not quite. You'd think so,
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Provided
I don't
that
think
you haven't-
I don't meet people that have gone, oh shit, I stuffed up, I didn't do it in double brick. And bear
Yeah.
in mind, if a new build cost these days for a 35 square home, you're probably going to be $1 million now with the cost of materials, right? So, by the time you do your landscaping, your air conditioning, security, blinds, curtains, all that stuff, it's probably going to be 800 grand to $1 million for a pretty big home.
Yeah.
5 bedroom, 4 bathroom, 2 lounge room, 2 or 3 lounge room. Now, if you're to do that in brick, you can double that.
Yeah, and again, that's not talking about economy. That's not economical for the vast majority of people. And particularly at the moment,
to build one for 1.5 to 1.8 or whatever on a full brick home, that's some serious coin.
Well, that's right. And
when
when you're considering that, the price, I wouldn't say the bubble, but the housing prices that we've been going through on the beaches as our core market, to buy land and then put a near $2 million home on that, and take the time of 12 months build plus everything else that you have to do, it's just not feasible for most people unless, we're talking the very, very, very fine percentages of minorities of people that can do it. It's not worth it.
No, look,
Well,
I think for Greater Sydney, absolutely. But I think you something in there that I've just picked up on is you may find there are expectations in particular parts of Sydney, whether it's it's a European part where people live, or the old-fashioned style, or whether it's a particularly affluent part where people are expecting 10 or 20 million to sell their property. So the whole clad thing won't fly. Do you know what I mean? So I think Eastern Suburbs is an example of that. Probably Bower Street, Manly, on the northern beaches is So if you're expecting the big coin, I think you've got to spend that money on structural. But I think all in all, probably 95% of Sydney, it's just brick veneer. It's just brick veneer these days, or it's clad these days. Life has changed. In conclusion, let's wind up. What are we saying today? Clad has now taken over. It's the clear winner. The Hampton style or whatever it is. Air conditioning has made that palatable for people, particularly having solar on top. You're running the aircon for free. Insulation is getting pretty close to a full brick insulation on the house, just because the way they're insulating ceilings and walls. We haven't even talked about these roofs, terracotta, concrete, or color bond. But and then price wise, I think people's appetite is fine for both for clad homes, providing you're not in particularly expensive areas of Sydney.
Look, it's an interesting one, and everyone's got a different opinion, so it'd be good to hear. Like, what do you currently live in, Mark? Are you living in double brick at the moment?
I'm double brick concrete slabs. I was brought up in double brick concrete slabs. My parents' house was built by an Italian, and my house was built by a Greek. But old school. They were both old, probably similar age homes. They were both those, I think, probably 70s, built in the 70s homes. Just strong. I love it.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks, Mark. Have a good day. And
what are you in?
I'm in a townhouse, so I'd have to think. I think they're Colorbond and Colorbond roofing, and then I'll have to have a look at it. I'm not too sure. I hadn't even thought about it, to be honest with you, until now. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, man. Cheers, everyone. Bye.